이번 세션의 타이틀은 K 컨텐츠 욕망과 재현이라는 제목이고요. 이번 세션에는 4명의 발표자 선생님들을 모셨습니다. 일단 조금씩 시간이 지연되고 있어서 그리고 선생님들께 조금이라도 발표할 시간을 더 확보해 드리기 위해서 제가 중간에 선생님들을 소개하기보다는 맨 처음에 세션 시작할 때 4분의 선생님들을 모두 다 소개해 드리고 그 다음에 차례대로 선생님들의 발표를 듣는 순서로 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 첫 번째 발표자 선생님은 태국 산마사 대학교에서 재직하고 계시는 차이왓 미산탄 선생님이십니다. 지금 차이왓 미산탄 선생님은 산마사 대학교 국제교양학부에 계시고요. 주로 관심 분야는 정체성, 소수자, 말레이시아 및 동남아 문화에 관심을 두고 계십니다. 오늘 발표는 한류에 대한 태국 여성의 수용과 시각이라는 주제로 발표해 주시겠습니다. 그리고 두 번째 발표자 선생님은 브루나이 다루살람 대학교 사회과학부에 재직하고 계시는 시티 마지다 모하메드 선생님이십니다. 무슬림 정체성, 무슬림과 코스모폴리타니즘, 소셜미디어, 민족지학, 참여 관찰 등에 관심을 가지고 계십니다. 많은 논문을 쓰셨고요. 그 대표 논문을 소개를 해주셨기는 한데 모두 다 언급을 해드리면 시간이 좀 많이 소요될 것 같아서 대표 논문은 생략을 하도록 하고 오늘 발표해 주실 그 제목은 한류 스타에서 한류 2기 영향력을 행사하는 사람으로라는 제목으로 발표를 해 주실 예정이십니다. 세 번째 발표자 선생님은 말레이시아 말레아 대학교 동남아시아과에 재직하고 계시는 하나피 후신 선생님이십니다. 지금 이 대학 동남아시아과 교수님이시자 학장님으로 수행을 하고 계시고 주된 관심 연구 분야는 말레이시아 원주민 유무형 유산 그리고 동남아시아 지역의 공연 예술에 관심을 가지고 계십니다. 오늘 발표 제목은 한국과 동남아시아 공연 예술의 영웅 캐릭터라는 제목으로 발표를 해주실 예정이십니다. 그리고 마지막 발표자이신 선생님은 브루나이 다루살람 대학교 사회과학부에 재직하고 계시는 케어 언니사 아이브라힘 교수님이십니다. 주된 연구 관심 분야는 인터넷 기반 지리학, 젠더와 페미니즘, 사회적 불평등, 정보통신기술과 개발 분야이십니다. 오늘 발표 주제는 그 BTS의 아마 그 앨범 타이틀 제목이었었던 것 같은데요. 너 자신을 사랑하라의 열풍에 관련해서 발표를 해주실 예정이십니다. 발표 시간을 많이 드리지는 못하고 모든 발표는 25분으로 제한이 되어 있습니다. 지금 조금씩 시간이 밀려져서 일정이 진행이 되는데요. 제가 아마 조금 이제 발표가 지연되시면 자꾸 이렇게 재촉을 하게 될 것 같습니다. 가능하면 25분 발표 시간을 잘 준수해 주시기를 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 먼저 첫 번째 발표자이신 차이왓 미산탄 선생님의 발표를 청해 듣겠습니다.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Speakers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chaywat Misantan from Thammasat University, Bangkok, Thailand. So our paper before, we're talking about the K culture in maritime Southeast Asia, but I want to bring you all to mainland Southeast Asia, especially in Thailand, the situations. My topic today is Thai women's perception about Korean culture and K culture and its adaptability trend. Okay, so I don't want to talk more about the meaning of K culture, but I want to focus into Thailand. For Thailand, it received its know from the Korean culture trend, beginning with the drama series in Thai TV, Autumn in My Heart, and the stream of Korean movie, My Sassy Girl, the success of both movie and drama that have received a good response from the audience, causing the continuous broadcast calling, such as the drama Winter Love Song of Full House, and the most popular drama from the historical drama Jewel in the Palace or Der Changkum. For Der Changkum, in society, it's a very, very important situation because of like my mother, she 63 years old last time. But when Der Changkum become in this evening every Saturday and Sunday, they bring television out to the market. Everything stopped, and all of the people in the market watching Der Changkum. This is start the Korean culture into the Thai people. And according to analysis to Thai people, as a result, the Korean products such as food, clothing, cosmetic, language, school, tourists, and other are becoming very popular after Der Changkum and followed by Jumong. When you talk Chumong to the Thai people, all know. And Der Changkum also, this is a rerun, I think more than 5 times in 10 years. As a result of Korean products such as foods, clothing, cosmetic, language, school tourists, and other becoming very popular according to analysis of the economic impact of Hallyu cultural product by Korean International Trade Association in 2005, a Hallyu product affect the domestic economy more than 1.87 billion. And also in Thammasat University now, this is the impact of K-culture. We also open a minor in Korean studies. And also we plan to found a major in Korean study in next 2 years under the Faculty of Liberal Arts. And from all above, it can be seen that the current influence of Korean culture has affected to the way of life, including the attitude of Thai people, especially among the young fan club. This comes from the disseminations of Korean culture through personal media, especially Korean singer, which may result in the Thai fan club being perceived through the media having a conceptual framework, attitude, and perception toward Korean and Koreans as presented in the role model. And in Thailand, this is no literature available indicating the direct relationship of Korean personal media. Only one research in Thailand at Shutiman 2008, she studies the behavior imitating the culture of Thai teenagers from Korean entertainment media. From the research found that Thai teenagers have the behavior of imitating Korean culture in terms of Korean language and Korean food. And Korean singer, actor affect imitation behavior. And also Shutima found interesting result in imitating Korean culture of the teenager. The influence from the love that most singers and actors possess in their performances, not just because of being Korean, which has the effect of liking Korean singer and actor and culture. So I interested to study the Korean web as a personal media affecting the Thai female fan club, including studying the process of creating Korean singer to be a culture product. So for the research question, this paper is based on the question of what the influence that the Korean web has on their Thai female fans. And therefore, the aim of the objective of these studies are to study the perception of Korean culture among the Thai women fans and adaptability trend of Korean culture among the different age groups of Thai women. Gain knowledge about the phenomena and other front of communication within society in the use of a personal media, especially the presenting of passing on culture and creating the popular culture. as well as gaining knowledge about the mechanism, process, a variable, the effect of creation of identity of image of human media, including obtaining academic information about the characteristic of communication with the group and the influence of the fan club on the behavior of individual in the group. And the scope and concept of this paper, this study mainly focuses on young female group who are mainly the member of the fan club group of Korean performers. Few concepts revolve around this topic are the young Thai female group or young Thai female fan club, a middle-aged group of an elder group whom their perception on Korean culture is very important. Along these studies, the other concepts that are pertinent, this study is about Korean wave and Hallyu, and it's present in the context of popular culture media, and all related to use consumption of media in everyday life, people perception, the different group of Thai women or self-awareness, and understanding the concept of fan and fan club and adaptability. And methodology of this paper, I used 3 methodology. The first is library research. The library research, mainly in documentary research, by collecting from news, article, research relating Korean entertainment, Korean culture, including recording of art performances, and interview the data of this paper, gathering from the interview in depth with a few important information, and also focus group discussion with the various group of young Thai fan group. In-depth interview were conducted also among middle age of the women and also with a few elder women. And the last one is observation. For the observation was made among this group and another group in getting a view of Korean cultural adaptability. The participant has been observed on their clothes and its material and make up the food that they eat, the gadget that they use, and the way that they're speaking. Therefore, the focus group on the participant in this research, mainly the young Thai female who are fan of popular Korean song group. The group always appeared in the popular A-Star magazine. A-Star magazine is very popular in Thailand, and all of Thai fan club, they are follow A-Star magazine. The total member of this young female group who came to a fan club of Korean pop song group consisted of 30 students of Thammasat University students in my university, and the interview conducted at Thammasat University from an in-depth interview of focus group discussion. There is about 30 young Thai female were interviewed at 2 famous shopping malls in Bangkok, that is MBK, and if you know Siam Paragon. Among the important questions were asked to this group, what makes them enjoy so much as a fan club member of the Korean popular group, how they spend their time and expense to fulfill their desire toward Korean culture, particularly the Korean popular group, and also their interest to feel Korea by spending and consume Korean products. And this is the result, the influence of Korean popular trend among Thai female fan club. In Thailand, the beginning of Korean popular trend in Thailand, the result of most interview, they show that the beginning of Korean popular trend come from Korean drama and series. When viewers began to watch drama and movie, they had the opportunity to absorb the soundtrack, causing people to become interested in Korean music. Korean singer popularity among fan club is one of the aspects of the imitation in terms of appearance, dressing, eating, and promoting Korean tourists, which is affected from their speech, expression, and adolescence. The reason why Korean singer can create Korean popular trend in Thailand. The result of the research show that the reason for liking Korean singer are one own internal factors such as the self-confidence and the quality of art in diverse. The Korean popular trend is also caused by the both singer personal ability and adaptation to the fan club culture. And the second external factor for singers, such as media planning or word of mouth from one person to another. This is very important because of the young generation. If somebody know and like they have one idol and then they inform their friend like, okay, this is very handsome, okay, and also fan to follow. This is say mouth to mouth. Yes, not mouth to mouth, mouth to mouth. This means from mouth to other person. It influence. The next is the influence of Korean popular trend of Thai society. For influence of Korean popular trend of the Thai society can be divided into two types, namely influence that affect the Thai entertainment industry and that influence the effects Thai female fan club. For Thai entertainment industry, the entertainment market has been stimulated by the Korean wave, resulting in research, new discoveries that are increasingly popular, try to make Thai artists mimic more and more Korean artists, including the Thai entertainment industry that is trying to change a more Korean style. But however, due to the quality of Thai singers still being different from Korean, the Korean singer group continue to expand. For influence that affect Thai female fan, generally almost all young Thai female who is the member of the Korean popular group fan are very positively accepting their Korean actor, actresses, and singers are their idols. Whereas the middle-aged group like Korean culture, but just a kind of appreciation, and the elder group did not appreciate very much of a Korean culture because of the age factor and language barrier. From the interview result, it was found that fans are between age 11 to 29 years, which Gen and artists affect their favorite age. The fan club will exchange news within the group of fan club, with exchanging news causing the fan power to do various things for the artist, such as the follow. The artist in the different place giving to make the artist recognize himself. The result of the research show that the reason that Korean singers are able to create Korean popular trend is due to two factors, which are one, factor of talent singer, and two, external factor of singer, such as mass media or word of mouth from people around them, which aside from using the person of the research and impress the audience, Korean singer also use a reading media, such as the entry of a variety of media. It makes it more accessible to artists because there is not only music presentation. And however, the influence that affects Thai female can be summarized into 6 as follows. The first is fans are imitating the behavior of the influence of that affect Thai females fan according to the media scenes, including fashion, clothes, hairstyle, and eating, increasing of a product from Korea, and learning Korean language. Number 2, influence of Korean popular trend causing interest in singer, dramas, and other performance comes from Korea. 3, dance imitating artists called cover dancing. 4, the singer Korean craze. From the interview, it is found that the most frequent behavior is to go to a concert, buying product related to artists for collection. Number 5, appreciation the artist as idol and role model. And last is number 6, feeling Korean has always infused their mind because they appreciate very much of the Korean artists. Therefore, they try their best to make themselves like Korean physically, included makeup and also plastic surgery, causing food consumption and purchase items used by those idols. This is a picture how the Korean style among the Thai young people. In Thailand, every year they organize a cover dance festival in Thailand and separate to the two groups, K-boy and K-girl, until now. And this is an example of, this is iPhone 11. She said she never liked iPhone 11 because of the T camera behind, but after her idol used, really liked, and she want to use iPhone, and she will sell Samsung. So this is why it's very important in Thai society. And the next is plastic surgery. A lot of female, especially for age 25 and over, they really want to come to Korea for plastic surgery. So and they show, okay, now she stay in Korea for the plastic surgery. So in conclusion, Korean culture wave in Thailand prevent and giving massive influence to the Thai people life today, especially among the young Thai people. The simple survey, in-depth interview, and observation found out that among women, especially the young female, is the group that absorbing and adapting Korean culture into their life. Based on their interview, mostly from the fan club, the element of Korean culture that they are following are adapt has both positive and also negative effect. They follow is good deed of their Korean idols to enhance and enriching their entrepreneur skill. It will show a good or positive impact of their life. Whereas if they are following the lifestyle of the Korean idol, which is not suitable for their everyday life, it might cause a negative effect. This is especially the lifestyle that demand a very high cost to maintain. And this will affect their financial ignorance. The study also found out that the Korean culture wave or Hallyu is also impacting the middle-aged group of Thai women. Their interest is very much into a beauty method and healthcare for middle-aged group. They always find ways to maintain their beauty as a plastic surgery is one of their interests in appreciating Korean besides healthcare. Therefore, this group love beauty in plastic surgery and always imagine to be a Korean for healthy activities and keep up with health tourists. For the older group, they seem not showing high interest in Korean culture. They are very much looking forward to appreciating Thai culture and in their daily life activities. So, thank you very much. I think maybe I can show you a little bit the situation of K culture in Thailand. Thank you very much.
Okay, the second presenter, please welcome second presenter, Siti Majida Haji Mohammed.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to first say thank you so much for organizing committee for bringing us here and giving me the opportunity to actually share my research on Hallyu 2.0 influences. My name is Mazida. I'm an academic from University Brunei Darussalam. Just to put things into perspective, let me just introduce my research area. I am a youth geographer. I am passionate about studying youth current youth, especially the millennials. My research lies at the intersection of geography, media and communication studies. So for this particular research, my approach to this paper is actually from the lens of youth culture. I'm more interested in how young people are actually engaging with digital media, digital materials online. And in this context, it's more on Hallyu 2.0 influences. I acknowledge social media as a mobilizer, as an enabler. It can bring changes to the world if used responsibly. So in the past 2 years, I've been researching influencers who are also known as micro-celebrities. So this research on Hallyu 2.0 influencer is part of the bigger research on all this, the young influencers, yeah? So you may wonder, why is this interest on Hallyu 2.0? Why am I not talking about BTS, K-pop? Why am I not talking about all those early celebrities like Song Hye Kyo, Gong Yu, the handsome guy? Yeah, because the thing is, K-drama and K-pop, they have received immense interest by the general public and of course by the academia as well. So this is not surprising because of the global impact of these two groups of actresses or celebrities in every strata of the societies. And we have witnessed the evolution of Hallyu 1.0 into Hallyu 2.0, a neologism that is used by scholars such as Jin Dal-yong, Yeon Kyung, and then Lee San-jong to label the shift in the Korean cultural transfer that grows concurrently with the pervasive use of social media. So this, the Hallyu 2.0 in particular has produced new patterns of cross-cultural engagement, self-consciousness, as well as self-identification. Cultural transfer occurs due to the intensified digital connectivity and social interactions on various social media platforms. So the transformation in the media from mass media to new media brought distinct features, for example, transfer of power, the user-generated content affordances, as well as individualism. So under this Hallyu 2.0 phenomenon, cultural transfer is no longer the sole responsibility of these early celebrities. For example, Lee Min-ho, Son Joong-ki, Gong Yu, Song Hye-kyo, Park Shin-hye, and Kim Tae-hye, right? But that responsibility has been taken on by K-pop idols such as BTS Jungkook, BTS Jimin, Blackpink's Jisoo. Of course, K-pop is the most distinct cultural genre, and that's Hallyu 2.0. But the thing is, this group, oh, sorry, I keep on messing up this. But this group of people, Hallyu 2.0 influencers, is not, they're not receiving enough attention yet. They are actually equally important and impactful group that recently gained their significance in the lives of the public because they are the individuals, ordinary individual, turned into influencers who gain their popularity due to their presence on social media platforms such as Instagram as well as YouTube. So the Hallyu influencers, also known as the micro-celebrities, are ordinary individuals, yet recognized beyond their localities, South Korea, due to intensive reproduction of relatable cultural content and effective labor on social media. So Teresa Sands, the first media scholar to actually coin the term micro-celebrity, defined it as a new style of online performance that involves people amping up the popularity over the web using technologies like video, blogs, and social networking sites. And it is also a state of being famous to a niche group of people, but it is also a behavior, the presentation of oneself as a celebrity, regardless who is paying attention. So these influences emerge as a product of rising individualism, technological advancement, and of course, commodification of everyday life. They triggered societal changes at a wider scale via their everyday sharing on social media platforms. Academic interest as well as public interest on this new group of celebrities worldwide are warranted for their potential in mobilizing cultural changes and cultural transfer. So they share materials, culture via their everyday posting on social media, offering the consumption of cultural goods, Korean cultural materials virtually. So those notable influences include, I don't know if you know Soko Glam, Jack Choi, Pony Syndrome, she's here, Edward Avila, American, if I'm not mistaken, Korean American, and Joan Kim. So these are among the notable influences from South Korea. So despite the growth of this influences in the Southeast Asian region in the recent years, the impact of this group in equally transferring idea as well as material culture outside of Korea in the context of Hallyu 2.0 remain understudied. So this is where my research on Hallyu 2.0 influences and the audience influences effective engagement is trying to close the gap in this current work on Hallyu 2.0. So the aim and objectives of this research, so realizing the capability of South Korean influences in mobilizing changes outside Korea. My research aims to capture this contemporary form of Hallyu 2.0, effective cultural transfer. It focuses on Bruneian women engagement with K-influencers content on Instagram and YouTube. Brunei actually has seen a lot of its youth embracing Korean culture. While K-pop and K-drama, they remain as the main dominant cultural influences, but now we are seeing Hallyu 2.0 influences are actually making an impact on these women's everyday experiences as well as self-consciousness, which I will show you later on. So the objectives of the research were to explore Bruneian women's identification with the influences, the new forms of self-consciousness, and the effective engagement with the Korean cultural materials and discourses on Instagram and YouTube in their everyday life. So the methods for this particular research, I use, it's based on a qualitative research method, semi-structured interviews supplemented by online observation. I look at what those influencers are doing on Instagram and YouTube. But this research focuses more on the audience, on the women's experiences. So here I did an interview with my respondents, and the respondents are women between the age of 18 to 38, and there are about 15 of them. Okay, so the interview questions were actually categorized into 3 parts. One is just personal information, basic information to know how do they use social media, do they actually use certain sites, for example, do you use Instagram or do you use YouTube? And the second one is on influencers, who do they follow on social media? And the reason for following them, as well as the content they acquired from the influencers. Is it more about K-beauty, is it more on mukbang or something else? And the third question is the most important part, which is on self-identification. How do they consume Korean culture on social media? Which aspects of the culture they embrace and their cultural engagement with Korean cultural materials circulated, exchanged, as well as reproduced on that particular site or sites. So to capture this contemporary form of Hallyu 2.0 effective cultural transfer, I analyzed effective engagement between audience and the influencers, focusing on the audience, the women engagement with the cultural materials shared by the influencers on their Instagram. In this study, I adopted Effective Practice by Margaret Wetherell, 2012, to study this cultural transfer. And effective practice actually involves studying body that are stitched together with feelings and thoughts, interactions, patterns, and relationships, narrative and interpretative repertoire, social relations, personal histories, and ways of life, putting different contexts into the picture. So this approach actually helps me in capturing how the audience engage with digital media and the effective labor involved in the everyday sharing online by taking into consideration of the actual feelings and thoughts. It's not just based on what you see online and that's it, but it's how you actually feel the emotion based on what people actually the influencers put on the social media. Okay, so the emphasis placed by effective practice on context, relationality, situation, and identification, embedded everyday social practice, and aspect of performativity linked with social practice online makes it the most suitable approach to study this Hallyu 2.0 influences effect on these women. So in this study, following the concept that behind the effective practice, I actually created this myself. I look into the transaction of cultural materials in the form of 1, circulation of cultural ideas and practices. What kind of information or content did those influencers put on the social media? And the circulation of the content themselves, supported by the audience via reposting the materials. And the second one is exchange of cultural ideas and practice. This one materialized by audience active engagement with the videos, images, stories, and captions shared by the influencers. So this is supported by the contextualization and the reworking of the contents by the audience. So an audience is affected by what he or she sees on the platform. Audience ideas, as well as interpretation, are generated based on what they observe on those social media platforms. And the last one, reproduction of cultural ideas and effects, refers to the effect of the effective circulation and exchange of cultural ideas. This involves the production of new cultural ideas based on the material circulated earlier. So if you look at this, there are 3 forms of transaction of cultural materialities. First is the circulation. What kind of content do those influencers put on the social media site? And the exchange refers to how do people work on that particular idea being put on by the influencers on social media, and of course reproduction, meaning how do you actually recreate something out of what you see or out of what you experience on social media. So this approach actually, this is some of the things that I want to show to you. This is what I meant by circulation of cultural content. It's a Pony Syndrome's makeup tutorial for hijabi. This is a YouTube video. I'm not going to play it now, but just to show you the kind of content that they put. So this is what I meant by Korean cultural materials being circulated on social media. Another one is this one, Edward Avila, quite famous as well. He puts up a lot of makeup, tutorials as well as photos, and also ponies makeup. Yeah, although, I forgot to tell you that although the interviews were actually, we did not focus on K-beauty. It was just a general discussion. But when we look at the data, most of the interviews talk about K-beauty, so that's why this particular paper focused on K-beauty. There are other interesting things as well. For example, ethics, culture, patriotism, as mentioned by the previous presenters. So this is a very interesting finding. So from this particular, this is what I meant by reproduction of cultural material. Images reposted by other people using the hashtag Pony Syndrome. Not created by the influencer, but are reposted by other people, the audience. So this shows the reproduction of those cultural material. So this approach that I've just mentioned earlier demonstrates the importance of audience subjectivities in the engagement with material culture presented on the social media sites by the influencers. Audience similar to the influencers are social actors who actively rework and create on narratives and making sense of the material on the social media scape. So these are some of the themes that I managed to get from the data. One is self-consciousness and identification. Second one, self as a project, and the third one, the K-culture ripple effect. The respondents' active engagement with beauty and fashion from Korea led to the rethinking of one's identity and the emergence of one's self-consciousness. The ability to change one's look via everyday makeup skills and fashion styles offer these women the power to reshape self. One's autonomy via the ability to change one's look via everyday makeup skills and fashion style is promoted by the influencers. For example, Edward Avila or Pony Syndrome or Joan Kim. So these women could relate to the Korean influencers due to the similarities in their physical features, small eyes and light to medium skin tone. The influencers actually offer these women with beauty ideals from Asia, contesting the Western beauty ideals which cannot be applied to them. So just as one respondent stated, they are Korean beauty products more affordable compared to Western brand. Since we are Asians too, the product's color range and so on is more suitable to our skin. So this points to the relatability of the Korean beauty ideals and products to the women studied. According to the respondents, learning from Korean dramas, idols, and influences they follow, Korean have high standard of physical appearance. I'm not sure whether it's true. Maybe it's just represented on the media, but feel free to discuss that later on. The K-beauty standard includes V-shaped face, light and bright skin, big and bright eyes, rosy, dewy, and flawless skin, and a slim body. Such standard is further emphasized by the influencers who often promote beauty tips, beauty routines, health tips, lifestyle hacks, and daily routines while doing live shows on their social media platform. Influencers are easy to follow by these respondents due to the natural and relatable effect they give. For instance, makeup application by influencers are closer to the natural and simple look the respondents wish to wear on an everyday basis, in contrast with the makeup style that idols usually put on when they appear at entertainment shows. So one respondent commented on the relatability of the influencer's natural look that inspires her to follow the influencer's style. I'm inspired to follow their routine and products used by the influencer. So you're seeing that those influencers can become a source of inspiration. Okay? A majority of the women studied said that they could achieve similar look, healthy skin, by using Korean beauty products, hence the decision to purchase those products. I think because we see that Koreans have such great skins, we believe that Korean products they use would be helpful too for our skin. So they're trying to emulate the look. Seeing idols, influencers with almost perfect, flawless skin does make this group of women to question the current state of self-care. Seeing idols and influencers makes me think that I always need to upgrade how I look. Laugh. This is quite interesting. A statement by a respondent signaling the need to appear beautiful. Insecurities is tackled by the rising confidence and self-worth Korean-style makeup offers. One apparent example is the use of eyebrow liner by idols or influencers every day makes a few respondents conscious of their eyebrow and the overall look. Lining their thin and unshaped eyebrows boosted their confidence. So the respondents are constantly reminded to be well presented and the need to continuously upgrade themselves, their physical look. Such consciousness is actually not new in this neoliberal time that emphasizes individual self-development and to some extent self-commodification. One respondent made this clear: I think they make me to become a better person, like they make me conscious and they make me knowledgeable in things that's not from my area of expertise, like they make me better myself and my knowledge. So the everyday engagement on Instagram and YouTube on the part of the audience is resulting to self-consciousness in the context of Korean beauty and fashion, and how these women negotiate such beauty ideals and standards to fit into own context as well as individual needs. So the presence of such audience, the women and their beauty practices, epitomize today's growing middle-class demographic with high purchasing power who are concerned with self-improvement, DIY lifestyle, positive body movement, as well as self-confidence. So cultural materials in the form of cultural style beauty tips, product reviews, circulated, exchanged, as well as reproduced on social media are not restricted to just K-culture, but point to the Korean way of living. So the previous slides on renewed self-consciousness and identification actually led me to the rethinking of self in the neoliberal times. Self is considered as mobile as well as fluid according to Bowman 2000. Based on the findings of this research, self is actually an ongoing project. Despite the circulation of makeup and fashion tutorial being mundane, it actually effectively mobilizes the respondents. Self-mobilization is enabled by the use of social media and the consumption of those material culture, Korean beauty standards and product being circulated, exchanged and reproduced on social media sites such as Instagram and YouTube. So self as a project has a place in an individual's life course. So this nature of self as a project epitomized contemporary societal condition theorized by Zygmunt Bauman in his Look at Modern Life Theory and Eliot and Lemert in their new individualism. So self is seen as fluid, mobile, as well as reflexive. So in today's time, self and identity are constantly redesigned, reproduced, and are reflexive to adapt to today's world, influenced by globalizing processes playing at both macro scale, institutional, as well as the micro individual levels. So reinventing and transforming self have become a practice embedded in the social cultural institution in this neoliberal time. At the same time, development and technology is growing parallel with this change in the ontology of self, offering us the capability to reinvent ourselves. So self as a project is not just limited to internal self, but self as an entrepreneur. Exposure to Korean culture gave a respondent the opportunities to create relevant businesses, such as personal shopper, as one respondent stated. Its exposure to Korean culture given me a lot of opportunities. I guess that's the best way that I can explain it. Because having been exposed to all these, I'm actually looking at business opportunities. I've never been to Korea myself, but I've sent about 5 people to Korea to actually do personal shopping. So the respondents have effectively engaged with the cultural materials generated on social media and in turn reproducing and exchanging new or old cultural ideas. For example, the idea of what beauty means according to ASEAN standards. So in the context of this research, the respondents' self and beauty ideals, so all this leading to this woman's self-consciousness, identification, seeing self as transformative as well as an ongoing project. So this actually leads me to a very important point in this particular paper, which is influences body becomes a site of production and consumption. So it's not just about them getting something out of it, they change the way they think, but it's also about questioning the influences as a site of production and consumption, their body on social media. So the influences body, the site of production, continuously producing an identity, image and self that are expected by the audience. As a site of consumption, where the influences body become a site of audience to consume, relatable self, developing self-value, and offering a self-identification. So as stated by Marshall here, celebrity influences becomes more than just a show, provider of points of identification. The influences provide the guide for the contemporary condition of exposure of the self. So these actually reveal the complex relationship between the audience and the influencers. So this is where I'm trying to say that it's really important to look at the impact of Hallyu 2.0 influencers on the actual audience and how the audience actually engage with the materials on social media. And of course, as much as I would like to claim the impact of influences on these women's self and identities, I can't deny the importance of K-pop and K-drama. That's why most of the focus for this particular conference are actually on them. But it's not just about what we see online, what we see on the media. Living and studying in Seoul, for example, can change a person's life. This student went to, I don't remember which university, but she studied in Seoul for 1 semester under the Discovery Year program, and she said that, oh, my exposure to Korean online as well as offline helped me to think about my own self. Especially in terms of beauty. According to her, previously when she was in Brunei, she wasn't concerned about how she looks, but after she comes to Korea, seeing all the beautiful Korean schoolmates, she decided to, okay, I'm gonna start buying makeup, putting on makeup, for example, from Misha. What else do we have? Innisfree, Etude House, and all those brands. Because of that, I was also influenced to actually start putting on the eyebrow, what do you call it? Shape my eyebrow because of her, when I interviewed her, when I asked her about it. Yeah, and then also K-culture and business in Brunei. Brunei is now seeing influx of Korean, not just tourists, but also businesses. I'll show you later. This one is one of the shops in Brunei, Korean shops in Brunei. This is Meet You All, and we also have other shops like Hallyu Kmart or Kmart with a green symbol or green colored building. This is quite famous. They're bringing in all those like Maxim Coffee, BTS photos and other stuff. And I don't know if he's famous here. This is the owner of Meet You All with our Bruneians young people who currently working at the store. This is I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe Baek Rak Hyung. So sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. But we are seeing a lot of Koreans now staying in Brunei, opening up business, and also an influx of Korean tourists in the country. So if you were to look back at this one, and it's not just the K-pop, the K-drama, but also the actual experience of the students studying and living in Seoul, and K-culture business. And also at the micro-scale level, local Bruneians are equally promoting Korean products to other people. It's the same thing as what Chaiwat mentioned just now. So when we see something, we say, oh, this is a good product, Misha is a good product, try it. So everybody else will start to wear the same product. So this is very interesting. Also, I think, am I here at the end of the, okay. So I'm actually at the end of the presentation. Also, just to wrap up, so this particular research, although it's, my focus is on Hallyu 2.0 influences. I'm trying to close the gap in the current Korean wave study. We focus too much on K-pop. I'm sure there's an important reason behind that, but we also need to be aware of this Hallyu 2.0 influences because they are actually showing everyday life to the audience, not being managed by an agent, not being managed by a company, but very, very genuine, very, very relatable, or you can identify with it because they are actually showcasing everyday life. And so here what I did was I look at audience influences affective engagement and just to look at how do we actually engage with the material, not just by looking at it and say, oh, I'm interested in K-pop, but how do you really, really effectively engage with it? And I look at it in the form of renewed self-consciousness and self-identification and seeing self as a project. And that self is reflexive, fluid, dynamic, and transformable, and it's actually being influenced by the Hallyu 2.0 influences such as Joanne Kim, Pony Syndrome, and Edward R. Villa. So lastly, I just want to say a transformation in our mode of socialization. We are seeing a transformation in our mode of socialization, creation of new subjectivities, and the creation of new spatialities of consumption of social mediascape. So thank you so much for listening. So I've reached the end of my presentation. And oh yeah, just quickly, this is actually an ongoing study. I'm planning to do more qualitative content analysis just to look at the content that the audience actually reposts on the social media and what the influencers actually put on social media. So that this will help to improve the quality of the research. And if you are interested, please feel free to email me, or maybe we can talk about more, future collaboration. So thank you so much for listening.
네, 감사합니다. 정말 시간을 딱 맞춰서 지켜주셨습니다. 세 번째 발표자 모시겠습니다. 프로페서 하나피 후신 선생님이십니다. 네.
Thank you very much, Professor Yok Song Hee. for chairing this session. And as mentioned, I'm Hanafi from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So I would like to talk about between masculinity and soft masculinity. Actually, this is a kind of new thing to me, because studying K-pop more to young generation. I'm the generation that almost retired. Okay, so but anyway, we also try to catch the boat. As I mentioned that I'm an old generation, that's why my study combination of old stuff. So it reminded me when I came to Korea in 1996, 23 years ago, when I studied about the Talchum. And because of this conference, thank you, Professor Pak Sujin. We try to collect as many as possible, but it is good also to have old stuff into the new stuff. So I try to make it the old stuff into the current discourse of the K-pop and so on. So in South Korea and Southeast Asia, Thailand and Indonesia especially, why Southeast Asia, as mentioned by Professor Park this morning, we are the team from Southeast Asia, try to look at the comparative study between South Korea and Southeast Asia, looking at the gender perspective. Even gender is not my really study, but of course when we study about culture, we are also include gender in it. So why we look at Korea, as I mentioned to you, so meant in before the Hallyu wave came in, I was here in 1996, there's no Hallyu matter. Yeah, Professor Kim, remember? So there's no Hallyu at that moment. But after I returned to Malaysia in 2001, 2002, the Hallyu follow us, even with you in Malaysia. So looking at the Korean drama, Korean pop, it will help to realize that the hero characters have different looks when compared to the hero character in the West. So when I study Korean Talchum, all about masculinity. So why masculinity? Because the femininity not really taken care into the Korean Talchum. I will show you an example of the video, how it looked like. If some of the, Southeast Asian people here never see or watch the Korean Talchum. So in this context, in the past, South Korea and in Southeast Asia, the male character, in the drama were not accepted as soft, but now are accepted. Although in Korean society, the male character still means strong masculinity. So in present Korean culture, it is considered as a hybrid product constructed through the transcultural amalgamation South Korea traditional Seonbi masculinity and Japan's Bishonen or pretty boy masculinity and global metrosexual masculinity, as I quoted from Chung, 2011. In Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, man's character in traditional theater is gentle, refined hero, not as hard as hegemonic masculine. As we listen today, hegemonic masculine as equal as dominant masculinity as proposed by professor from in the keynote this morning. In Indonesia, refined hero, they categorize it as alus or refined, meaning soft and gentle men, quite far from the characteristics of hegemonic masculinity. So in the changing and evolving landscape of masculinities, This presentation underscores soft masculinity concept and practices in traditional theater performances in Southeast Asian countries like Thailand and Indonesia. How concept of soft masculinity is spreading and being accepted across Southeast Asia, as we can we listen today in many presentations, especially our colleagues from Southeast Asia. So in specific, it compares Korean mass dance drama or Talchum with Indonesian Wayang Wong, the dance drama, and the Thailand mass dance theater called Kond, to understand how the traditional dramas have brought soft masculinity. So the summary of the presentation, I will touch a little bit on literature review, the masculinity and soft masculinity of hero characters in the South Korean and Southeast Asian performances. As I mentioned earlier, in the context of Korean Talchum, the masculinity of the hero or the male characters very obvious compared to Southeast Asian traditional theater. So I try also to look at what is the discourse between South Korean and Southeast Asian evolution of hero characters or male characters between masculinity and soft masculinity. So we try to look at whether, in the conclusion, whether all of us agree with my suggestion or not. So in the concept of masculinity is defined is simultaneously a place in gender relations, the practices through which men and women engage, that place in gender, and the effect of these practices in bodily experiences, personality, and culture. So what we were looking since morning, what the masculinity, the built up, through bodily experience, personality, and of course the culture. So Connell, 1995, mentioned the masculinity is an outcome of processes and relationship through which men and women conduct gendered life. Culture determines the ways of one feels masculine and feminine. Four of those are hegemonic, as some people call as dominant, subordinate, compliant, and marginalized. Hegemonic masculinity culturally glorified over all other types of masculinities. So being men, so of course masculinity is very important. Well, even though they are in the marginalized group. Cole's 2008 mentioned as men support hegemony masculinity. So even though they are not really practicing masculinity. Soft masculinity, this is added to these four becoming important literature. So those who are out there, who are doing their business or whatever, maybe they don't care about what we are doing, but from time to time we are enrich our literature by looking at this new vision of this masculinity, what we call as soft masculinity, and maybe a few more years there will be another term. This is about male images that are exceptionally feminine to Western eyes, as Geng Song mentioned. Louis referred to the girlish look, and the meanings of the Japanese boy bands, and likewise describes how notion of Chinese masculinity have substance and become more feminine. And in movies of developed societies and culture, action heroes is idealized as a model of manhood. So they are part of the ideology of heroic masculinity. So they are constructed dramatically as a man of action heroes. In drama, movies, and live art performances, the male characters represent strength and courage. Where Welby in 1990 mentioned characters among men and women, outcome of the socialization. So the society and its institution together shape, construct such a division. So this is another factor also the way the families and communities train, educate, and enable girls and boys to behave. So this is how we mention here the masculinity through construction. So the mass media, as discussed earlier, also has a profound effect on the definition of personal sex roles. Television, dramas, nowadays we have YouTube, Netflix, etc., which giving influence to the current generation. I think we are in the old generation, we are less influenced by this. I don't know. How about you, Professor Park Soo-jin? Less influenced by this Netflix and so on. So talking about the masculinity and soft masculinity of the male characters in the South Korean and Southeast Asian performances, looking at the performances as, for example. So I hope I try to make it quick, looking at Talchum. What is Talchum? Talchum is mass drama. Is recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of South Korea. So mass drama, which is called Tal, is mask, which evolved during Goryeo period and Joseon dynasties. So it has developed unique characters to represent features of different regions of South Korea. So that's why when we look at the development of Talchum, it varies according to the area in South Korea. Even in Northern Korea, as you can see, the Pongsan Talchum is the intangible cultural heritage of Korea. The origin is somewhere in the Northern Korea nowadays. So I'm not going to talk about what are the type of the Talchum, but just to show that Korea has rich of this tradition. So, and look at these three images. It is my, what we call it, nostalgia of doing research in Korea when there were no Hallyu in 1996. So this is my Hallyu at that time, okay? So looking at the content of the performances of this Talchum everywhere in Korea, in the different areas. So mainly focus on three matters that often talk about the hatred among the aristocrat or yangban, immoral monks, as you can see on the right, and then also on the third photo, the issues between men and women feature the Mial Halmi dance in this performance. So almost all Korean Talchum show these three episodes of the performances. So what I would like to show here, maybe how the movement, sorry there's no sound, but the concept of gentleman, through the dance, not looking at the softer movement, as you can see from the first video, the Young Ban episode. And also, look at here, the number three here, the Mial Halmi dance. So this is female. So that's not important of the femininity in the performance. So this is what in the past, even in the current Talchum, it still show the same. So the point is here, the concept of masculinity to the Korean in the past is very important. So the hegemony of men in this context. So let us move to Southeast Asia, looking at Thailand. So this is the part of the Thai mass dance drama called Khon, and this play exclusively driven by the Rama story. So Professor Chaiwat know it very well. In Thailand, the version of Ramayana story, but it called Ramaken. So the performance involved elegant dance step, use of instrument, voices, and heavy use of costume, because you need to show that it is a super or extraordinary performance, because the character Rama from the Ramayana, Rama is God, so in the context of Vishnu. So this is very important to the Thai people, even though in the past it's present in the court, but nowadays still been delivered to the people when it is performed to the school and as the part of the study. So it is viewed as a unique cultural heritage. It's present male genre of Thai classical performance. But as we can see, the Ramayana concept of the performance is about God. So the performance must be gentle and must be holy, is no rough in the performance. So as you can see, the gesture of the male dancer still looking at the gentleness is through a soft movement, as it is opposed to the Korean Talchum. So Rama as the main hero, the male character in Ramakien story, is the incarnation of a Hindu deity known as Vishnu. So in the Thai context, called as Vishnu Narayana and called as Pranarai. So because of this god and goddess concept in the performance, so the soft masculinity already exists in the context of the Thai performance, as we can see a little bit in the video. So even the movement, must be what we call it synchronized. Even in the Korean Talchum, synchronized came later. So let us move to another part of Southeast Asia, as I promised to show the example of Indonesia. In Indonesia, the wayang performance called wayang wong, or wong called orang. Orang is people. So the wayang performed by people. Okay, this is a classical theater famous in Central Java. And it is predominantly a dance drama which derive the plot story from the Ramayana as well, and also the other Hindu text, Mahabharata. So it entails a single fight between refined. So in Indonesian context, refined called alus. So similar context with the Indonesian Thai performance, which also feature the concept of God. So the alus forceful, opposed to the gagah or strong characters. Both performed by males generally take place between demon male and Arjun. So we can see how it is different. Yeah? So the last video. So this is to show how similar the context of the male or the hero traits are most acknowledged among Javanese and the practice. So in the old days, this role were performed by women. So that's why the gentleness of the male character can be seen through the soft movement by the female dancers, but still bringing in the concept of the soft masculinity. So in the past, in Southeast Asian context, soft masculinity not meant as girlish, but is related to the concept of God and goddesses. Okay, the negative part played by the gagah or strong is shown strong and masculine through the typically designed mask, but it does not have gentle and soft practice like by the masses. So in Indonesia, masculinity among young men are changing. So in study, in the few contexts, few studies have shown link between violence and masculinity, especially looking at the performance, the traditional performance, which reveal violent masculine practices being practiced and sustained around cultural discourse of respect, honor, and hierarchy. So this is different context in the Southeast Asia. So debate, discourses and analysis on femininity and masculinity are growing in different field of academia as what we are doing now. So in specific, literature is lacking on the impact of feminine worldview on traditional performing arts and dramas. So which have resulted in the transformation of characters and their appearance and performance. So as what we can see, Kohn, Wayang Wong, and Talchum are independently studied to understand some aspect related to performing arts, but dimensions of the femininity and masculinity are much ignored. So that's why my study here tried to fill this gap, hopefully, if it is makes sense. So this study aims to understand how the concept of the hero is refined, or male character is refined from hegemonic masculinity to soft masculinity in the three traditional theater or drama performances in 3 countries, and how these dramas drive inspiration from their societies and how these affect the discourses on gender, masculinity, and femininity. So when we look at the difference between South Korea and Southeast Asia, the concept of soft masculinity is already exists many years ago, or 100 years ago. So even though the concept of refined masculinity was already available, in Southeast Asian like Indonesia and Thailand. Why I'm taking Indonesia and Thailand? Because the example is very clear. I'm not taking Malaysia because Malaysia don't has what we call it, the Ramayana tradition. It's not been performed as a dance drama. The Ramayana tradition in Malaysia just performed in the puppet performance. So we can't see the gentleness or the masculinity in the performance. So which we already see just now, and the concept of soft masculinity, that what we highlighted, what we proposed since morning, came later into the Korean context. Because in the past, as I mentioned, through Talchum, so all about the masculinity. So now I'm going to the fourth part of the paper, looking at the a bit on the discourse between masculinity on the and soft masculinity, or vice versa. Traditionally, masculinity is defined as tough guy, especially in Korea. So, but currently, this traditional definition of masculinity changed, converted into soft masculinity, as what we discuss, maybe some of us discussed since this morning. Soft masculinity is the hybrid product constructed through the amalgamation of South Korea traditional Seonbi masculinity, which I repeat what I mentioned earlier. Chung, in 2011, in her book titled Korean Masculinities and Transcultural Consumption, Yunsama, Rain, Old Boy, K-pop, idols, have mentioned that emergence of K-pop idols group, especially Seo Taiji and the boys who have used rap, rock, and English into their music, have introduced pretty-looking boys into their bands, even though those pretty-looking boys were collectively showing masculinity through their action. So I'm trying not to discuss more about this K-pop group because it has been highlighted by many presenters. We try to look at how it involved in the movies or drama and so on. So what we can see here in the context of new discussion of the masculinity, it could be new kind of masculinity. But of course now many people or many academics, even though not many agree about the concept of the soft masculinity and so on, so it already enriched the literature. So it's creating, this concept or what Sung Chung call as soft masculine. So K-pop style beauty salons are also evolving with the passage of time in Korea, in which use of foundation, eyebrow, as mentioned by Dr. Mazida, she herself also using the eyebrow pencil. It's not only her, but among the male, of course. And this is get into the plastic surgery as well. Is common for men. So Dr. Chaiwat, I think, is not only women doing plastic surgery. You may also check the men who are doing plastic surgery in Korea, maybe your new study. In continuation of the use of cosmetic product for men channel, has launched the first ever makeup line from the name of Boy de Chanel on September 1st, 2018. I think this is quite recent, in which they have also introduced a range of necessary tools for men which may help them in making their appearance good without having any question on their masculinity. So this is what the concept of masculinity by looking at the K-pop, becoming popular across the world, their influence of culture and unique style of K-pop handsome boys is also spreading across the other countries. So male K-pop are distinguished to be good-looking, well-dressed, and having makeup on their beautiful skin. So as we can see, which I gathered is from the anatomy of the perfect K-pop. So this is the sign of the masculinity by looking at or taking K-pop star as an example. So it is changing the perception of Asian men, now perceived as being a tender personality with a gorgeous face and a hot body. So that's why K-pop star really became an idol, as mentioned by Dr. Chaiwat. So recently, by looking at the drama, we also, there's a kind of development. The drama developed on their character, in which a star from BTS, they're not only in the singing, but they're also into the acting as well. So where they cast, which also showing the use of makeup and accessories. As Chung mentioned here, has given flower boys the name of conniminum, combining the words of flower and a beautiful man, and said that this phenomenon should be explained through the concept of versatile masculinity. So soft yet manly at the same time. So she quotes Song Joong-ki, the star of a popular Korean drama, Descendants of the Sun, as a picture of this. He may be a conminum in his appearance, but he is a tough guy as military special force captain. As a special forces captain in the military, he is also a tough guy. Descendants of the Sun and other Korean dramas are spreading the Korean look of men and soft men in the rest of the world. So huge success of a TV drama on the mid-2000s, such as Winter Sonata, which I also trapped into this phenomena. I still remember when I was doing my PhD, I forgot about my thesis when Winter Sonata came in. really, but what to do? And Tae Jung-geum, along with the pop music bands such as Big Bang and Super Junior, Korean pop culture developed through the combination of masculine and feminine characteristics of single performer in different performances. K-pop performers are opting multiple masculinities characteristics and are giving more flexible definition of soft masculinities. So that's why people or we could accept soft masculinity as a masculinity. As Jung suggested, given it the name of hybrid masculinity, while Louis 2012 said that characteristics of both male and female performers are going to be amalgamated in soft masculinity. I skipped this read because it's too long. Okay, as K-pop popularity is increasing among young fans, they are opting their style and feeling them that they are not different from the stars they admire. While K-pop style may not suit to many, but it's getting popularity in the US and hundreds of thousands of people are falling in love with a new kind of man. So Korean pop culture is now becoming highly significant source of entertainment, even in Malaysia. So since I already give Indonesia, Thailand, and of course people over there easily accept and adapt because the concept of soft masculinity already exists many hundred years ago. But in Malaysia, K-pop, even though the concept of soft masculinity not really appeared in the eye or view of the fan, us looking at it, but to them, they are the idol. Same thing like what Dr. Chawat mentioned, and also Dr. Kim mentioned about the two cases, happen. So this is, the fan look at them, they are not soft, they are masculine. New Korean look. Okay. So I tried to skip this because everywhere in Malaysia, people not only fan to the group, but they also try to copy what they perform. Okay, so South Korea is enjoying much success with the exportation of popular media, including music, movies, and TV shows. So one fundamental element of their success appears to be Korea's influential and specific media manufacturing system. So all these studies indicate that orthodox metaphors of gentle Korean masculinity are deliberately engaged to successfully market Korean masculinity. As a conclusion, as we together through my journey, as an old man looking at the Talchum, refined masculinity is already prevailing in Southeast Asia, as evident from the traditional dance dramas character, as I showed for an example. Traditional Korean dramas, men were dominating in dramas performance, even performing a female role. As you can see, sometimes the Mial Helmi dance performed by the male performer. If you go to Halhue village, the Halhue Pil Singut, the female character performed by male. So presently, shifting male are opting with baby face look and with the usage of makeup and accessories, even though men or male looking at that, oh, so girlish, but the female say, no, it's handsome. So this trend, due to acceptability of good-looking, stylish, stylized men by women in romantic drama, movies, and even in routine life. All this is happening because of popularity of K-culture, not only in Korea, but also in other parts of the world, as we can see from many presentations this morning, as mentioned by the professor in the keynote 2 from the University of Seoul. So this K-culture has become one of the biggest commodity to be exported in the form of movies, song, drama, and TV. So not only that, but the accessories, the cosmetic, and so on. So some Korean opted refined masculinity in the form of soft masculinity, affecting much to Southeast Asia, but not really affecting, as mentioned by Dr. Kim, people accepting it, people adapting it, and then people like it. So thank you very much for your attention.
네, 감사합니다. 드디어 이제 마지막 발표를 듣게 되었습니다. 마지막 발표자이신 케어 언니사 하지 아이브라힘 선생님 모시겠습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 카르니사입니다. 저는 방탄소년단을 사랑합니다. 저는 2018년부터 아미입니다. So I studied Hanguk very hard for 6 months, just to say this at the start of this presentation. Thank you very much. Still 한국어 잘 못해요. So please teach me. My topic for today is the Love Yourself wave, K-pop. So really it's about BTS as a positive representation of masculinity for girls and women. As an ARMY, of course, I have been privileged to be an insider into the fandom. And as an insider into the fandom, I realized that there are common discourses about BTS and the impact of BTS on girls and women, which is that BTS represents a positive element of masculinity. If you are a fan, you would realize that a lot of fans, when they are asked about BTS, they say that BTS actually has saved them. And I'll show you some instances of tweets that talk about this. So it is my pleasure to be the final presenter for today, and I feel like this has come to a full circle because actually, sorry, I'm too short for this. Because actually in the first keynote speech, so Hong Kyo-sunim actually brought up the fact that soft masculinity is not something new, but what is new is that it's received sort of more globally. That is what is new. So she asked, why would Western women in particular desire or find a soft masculine image, a flower boy image, attractive, when they didn't find this before attractive? And then she answered the question, which spoils my paper. But basically, that's what I'm trying to do with my paper, which is to, sorry, where do I, here? Which is to talk about how, born by the Korean wave and ICT, BTS as a group, through their image, through their music, through their advocacy, their positive messages of love and self-acceptance, have actually represented for fans and fans in the public a different form of masculinity, a more positive form of masculinity. And this is only positive and different in relation to hegemonic masculinity. So it's only refreshing, it's only novel because what we have seen so far of masculinity has not been positive. It's been toxic, it's been hegemonic. So today, my presentation is divided into 3 parts. The first one, I'll talk about gender, social media, and mental health. So I'll start off with that, setting the scene for BTS bringing a new sort of form of masculinity to the global stage. Then the second part is looking again at social media and the rise of soft masculinity born by the Korean wave and BTS's popularity. The third part is looking at whether or not these masculinities actually challenge hegemonic masculinity, and I argue that it really does. We conducted with some students small projects that looked at public reception, fan reception about aspects of masculinity. Okay, so the first part is about gender, social media, and mental health. I argue that this is a factor really for BTS's soft masculinity to be seen in a positive and receptive way by a global audience. There is a relationship between gender, mental health, and social media. First of all, when we talk about gender and mental health, the World Health Organization reports that both men and women experience mental health, but men and women experience different kinds of mental illnesses. So for women, especially young girls, what they suffer from is mental illnesses or mental illnesses that are directed inwards. So these are things like anxiety, these are things like depression. So these are not things like being a sociopath, which is more prevalent in males, right? These are more mental illnesses that turn inwards into a person. Adult women as well are more prone to depression and anxiety. So a big factor in the prevalence of such mental illnesses in women is unequal gender relations, because women experience a lot of negative reception or negative treatment at the hands of men. So they experience misogyny, they experience subjugation, they experience oppression, discrimination in societies that are patriarchal. And let's admit it, most societies are patriarchal, right? So the online landscape is where much of this treatment and unequal gender dynamics take place nowadays, at new scales and in new forms and velocities. So Bennett, Weiser, and Miltner, they coined the term networked misogyny to describe all of the negative masculine or masculinist mistreatment of women in online platforms. So various reports have said that compared to men, more women experience online sexual abuse at the hands of men. In the European Union, for instance, one report has found that since young girls as young as 15 and then women much older, 1 out of 10 women and young girls has experienced cyber harassment. Other misogynistic acts online include things like stalking, harassing, revenge porn is increasing, catfishing, bullying. So all of these things that are happening in online spaces and also offline spaces are leading to or creating or contributing to mental illnesses in young girls and women. This is not to say that such activities or such acts are going unchallenged. Actually, there has been a series of movements by feminists. So actually, all of these misogynistic acts are not being left alone. Rather, women and feminist allies or feminist men, they are using the same channels on which misogyny is happening. So online platforms, social media, right? They're using the same channels to fight back against misogyny. So for instance, an example is the Me Too movement, which began as a series of tweets that exposed misogynistic acts by powerful men in US social media. And this has spread worldwide because it led a global movement in which women and their allies realized that they can use the same platforms and voices and channels to fight back against misogyny. So to set the scene again, mental health issues, there are certain mental health issues that girls and women are prone to, and these are exacerbated by their experiences on social media. Now, the second part is about social media and the rise of BTS and soft masculinity. So you saw earlier, I was talking about how social media kind of worsens, creates these negative conditions for young girls and women. Social media as well is the same medium through which fans and BTS interact, right? Social media is the portal for young girls and women to experience and to learn about the rest of the world. Social media allows them to learn and exposes them to new and different forms of interactions, worldviews, perceptions, and cultures. For BTS, social media is the site for their performances of gender, as I'll show you in a bit. So Professor Jang Won-ho, he's talked about popularity and impact of BTS, so I don't have to do that. You all know how popular they are. Things about massive number of views on YouTube, massive retweets, Guinness's World Records for having the most fans, having the most social media content, etc. Being an ARMY myself, as I said many times, I know that fans are very passionate about making sure that the group always breaks records, and this is part of their popularity and success. What is also unprecedented is that they have not only captured the attentions and hearts of fans from all over the world, they've also been recognized by institutions that have long been monopolized by Western pop culture. So for instance, the Grammys, United Nations, right? All of these institutions, American Music Awards, have invited BTS specifically to join them for special events. Most recently, there was the first foreign artist invited to perform at the Riyadh Stadium in Saudi Arabia. Again, an unprecedented feat. So given that they are so big right now, that means that there is a global reception for their soft masculinity, right? As someone had said before, you don't become a fan to bash your biases. You become a fan to celebrate your biases. And when you celebrate your biases, you accept what they are standing for, what they represent. So the global popularity of BTS means there is a spread of of soft masculine ideals. So BTS performs a soft masculinity, which is more common in East Asia, particularly in the entertainment industry. The global popularity means that this soft masculinity is now not just confined to East Asia and the Asian context. BTS also spreads a positive image of self-love and acceptance, as I'll show you in a bit. And this is a contrast, definitely a contrast to hard hegemonic masculinity, which is exhibited by certain traits like being hard, being protective, being strong, etc. I think Professor Hanafi has already explained in detail what hegemonic masculinity means, so I don't have to do that. This is great being the last presenter. So then that means there is a challenge to hegemonic masculinity, doesn't it? So global reception means wider spread and acceptance. So like I said before, they not only just spread messages through their music and performances, they do it through their advocacy as well. They work with United Nations on initiatives to promote self-love, to end violence against young people. So Kim Namjoon, in his United Nations speech just last year, he was talking about the need for young people especially to take back agency, to speak for themselves and not to let others overpower them. This message of empowerment is really something that young girls and women have wanted to hear, and now they're hearing it from somebody or from a group that is globally very visible and powerful. Right, so a bit of context about the Korean wave and how ICT and social media has been sort of spreading the message and image of Bangtansonyundan. Basically, there are several aspects to this. I'll just mention some of it. With social media, the platform for which BTS and their fans interact, what happens is there is a sort of connection made that has been called a parasocial kinship. There is some sort of intimacy that is created on social media that is sort of not found in older forms of media. There's always a distance between idols and entertainers and their fans. But on social media, this sort of distance is bridged. You sort of just have to go to their Twitter to find out what they are up to. They tweet something about what they've eaten. So it fosters a sense of closeness and connection with, between fans and idols. So the idols use the same channels to share and exchange information with their fans, usually information about themselves. A lot of the information also represents performativity of the masculinity, right? What do I mean? So a lot of their, for instance, their vlogs, interviews with BTS, in which they talk about the narrative of hard work, the narrative of struggle, the narrative of overcoming hardship. All of these are being fed directly to fans, and fans consuming these messages feel a sense of kinship with them, and fans start to root for these idols. Somebody said that earlier, this is not unique to BTS. Everybody has sort of, most idols have had the same narrative. But what is increasingly sort of what is different with BTS is it's more of everything else becoming sort of compounded by their popularity in the Western and global context. So part of the sort of sharing their own experience is also sharing their emotions. It's also about sharing their sort of feelings. They're not holding back, and this is something that is different from hegemonic masculinity, where hegemonic masculinity, or sort of the dominant ideas of masculinity, is that men do not show emotions. Men are not supposed to cry. Boys don't cry is a dominant, like it's a message that boys are given at a very young age. And you see BTS crying on screen. Every time they cry, they share emotions. They cry when they're happy, they cry when they're sad. And for fans, this, who have seen men around them being so repressive, being so distant in their own emotions, this is a welcome change, right? So soft masculinity then challenges hegemonic ideals. Okay, sorry, I keep flipping back. Right, so what is hegemonic masculinity? I think Professor Hanafi has already talked about this, so I don't really need to go through it again, but basically, in short, it's just dominant ideas about how men should be, and how men should be different from women, and how men should be between women, with other men, right? And with sort of other relations as well. So particular aspects of masculinity, so hegemonic ones have always been culturally, socially, institutionally accepted as dominant. These images are perpetuated by media. They are circulated through discourses of nationality, discourses of like sort of military might, discourses of like equating having money with power, etc. Think about the tough guy image. So for contemporary entertainers, people like The Rock, the superhero movies, all the Avenger guys. For the older consumers, the James Bond movies perhaps represent sort of the ideals of hegemonic masculinity. So like these people are very, very aggressive, very ripped, very violent, they're very powerful, etc. So all of these sort of hegemonic masculinities are norms that men are expected to live up to, even though they don't really do that in their everyday lives. But since they are norms, then there is pressure, social pressure for them to live up to these norms. What happens is that the pressure and the performances turn towards toxic masculinity. So for instance, in my gender class, we were looking at one paper that looked at gender-based violence in Bolivia. And because Bolivian men are conditioned to act in a machismo way, so the culture is of a machismo culture, where the men are supposed to be a protector, they're supposed to be strong, they're supposed to be fighting for the women, for the families. What happens instead is that because they are so violent, they often turn the violence towards their women. And the women are conditioned to be passive, submissive, to receive whatever violence that had been dealt out to them. This is why Bolivia has one of the highest rates of gender-based violence in South Africa and in the world. So hegemonic masculinity can quickly turn into toxic masculinity, and it often does, actually. So in sort of the setting of hegemonic masculinity, the rise of soft masculinity seems to be a welcome change, right? Right. So the concept has been coined by several people. Some of the authors that have been using it recently include Jung and Ainsley. They refer to soft masculinity as a concept of masculinity that is sort of pitted against hegemonic masculinity and is seen through Western lens especially to be more feminine than masculine. Even the word soft, if you know connotations of word, soft is often feminine, hard is often masculine. The term flower boy, again, flowers, nature is female associated, feminine associated, whereas humans, conquerors, etc., are masculine associated, right? So these non-hegemonic traits often demonstrate the opposite of usual hegemonic traits. So things like what Professor Hong was saying earlier about homosociality. So women are used to seeing men sort of being repressed. They're not very affectionate with other women. They're not very affectionate with each other. But with K-pop, with BTS, what you see is a form of homosociality, in which men are very affectionate with one another. They are sort of less constrained in terms of demonstrations of sensitivity, displays of emotion, and ability to become sort of empathetic, sort of to display love and friendship rather than just competition and dominance. So far, hegemonic masculinity is about competition, right? Who gets the girl? Who gets the money? Who gets the treasure, etc. So I've been saying all of this. I've been saying that since BTS is so popular, then they must be challenging Western hegemonic masculine ideals because they have been accepted by the majority, by many people, many fans around the world. But have they really been doing so? To find out, actually, I conducted a small student research with 4 students for 2.5 months. What they did was they looked at photos of BTS from their photo shoots. And then they also combed through a massive amount of comments on YouTube videos. So they looked through 15,000 comments on YouTube videos that are in reaction to BTS vlogs, behind the scenes videos. One person also looked at Reddit threads. So they went through these massive amounts of data just to look at sort of how have BTS been perceived by their fans? How have these perceptions, are they gendered, right? So let me walk you through some of the data. So for instance, in visual analysis, what I asked them to do is to look at various photos of BTS from various photo shoots, and then to come up with terms that come to them to describe what the photos represent, right? So some of the terms are things like aggressive, weird, pure, dominance, fierce, prey-like. Then there is a plus or a minus there. The plus and minus indicate whether or not these sort of impressions are negatively or positively received by fans. And this is visual analysis. With content analysis, they went through every word in the comments. And they picked out words that had gender connotation. So things like adorable, hot, cute, flawless, hugging, crying. So they picked out these words. They counted how many words have come out, right? So they did that with comments on YouTube videos. They did that with comments on Reddit threads, right? And then the result is that they come up with a number of words. A number of words of varying frequency. So cute comes up a lot. Apparently BTS are very cute, not very surprising. They're also handsome, did you know? They're also sexy, hot, etc. So they counted how many times within the 15,000 comments that these words had come up, and then they categorized the words according to the reception, the tone of the comment. Are people saying it in a very positive way, as in they like that BTS is cute? Or are they seeing it in a very negative way? So comments like flower boy, right, could be perceived in a negative way. But it could also be perceived in a positive way. Effeminate definitely has a negative connotation and is said in a very negative way. So the results, some of the preliminary result of that analysis is that they took like the top 10 words that refer to the dress and appearance of BTS. So things like feminine, cute, beautiful, pretty, handsome, hot, adorable, attractive, gorgeous, sexy. All of these qualities, top 10 qualities of BTS. Then they compared with like hegemonic traits that have been recorded, or sort of hegemonic traits that have been proposed by various scholars to be meeting hegemonic ideals. So feminine is definitely not a hegemonic trait, so it's been labeled negative. So other things like gorgeous could be a positive masculine trait. Then they looked at the reception of the fans, whether the fans think about it in a positive or negative way. Most of these are very positive. And then in the end, they say, does this perception challenge or reinforce hegemonic ideals? So basically, if something that is considered to be not a hegemonic ideal, so it's negative, but it is positively received, so let's say cute, right? It's not a hegemonic masculine ideal, but fans really love it, that they're cute. Then so this challenges hegemonic ideals. And so as you can see, there is a good mix of challenging and reinforcing. So things like handsome is definitely a masculine trait, and it's also been positively received. So this reinforces hegemonic traits. Another aspect that we looked at is also behavior and manners. So things like adorable, attractive, caring, crying, cute, again, feminine, funny, gay, precious, sexy. These are all compared to hegemonic traits. Some of them are negative, meaning they're not considered to be hegemonically masculine. Some of these are positively received, and then some of them are negatively received. But as you can see, there's more challenging of hegemonic ideals rather than reinforcing. So what we're seeing is overall that the traits that BTS are exhibiting, they're not hegemonic traits, and yet what we're seeing is positive reaction or positive reception by fans. So this, to conclude, that kind of analysis, small analysis, is that BTS does reinforce, does challenge hegemonic gender ideals, although it does reinforce them in some ways. Right, so then I was talking about mental health earlier, and then hegemonic ideals, and then how does mental health relate to soft masculinity? This is something that I'm still working on. This is a study in process, but my proposed study on this is to link how fans have, the discourses of fans around how BTS has saved them. So a lot of, like I said before, a lot of the discourse around BTS is about how they have saved them. So if you can see the sort of comments on, you can probably not see them, they're too small. So a lot of these comments are about like, BTS, you saved my life. BTS, I would never be here if it wasn't for you. This is a common, this is a common refrain among fans actually, that BTS had saved them. Saved them from what? And apparently, the tone of the messages is one of despair. It's one of depression. And depression, anxiety comes up a lot in these posts. Another thing that I'm doing right now, which is a very, very nice data collection, is watching all of the DVDs of the concerts, which is not a bad thing at all. And then within these DVDs, right, what they show is sometimes they show fans sort of reacting, like ask about, like, how do you feel being at these concerts? And almost always they feel like, you have saved, they would say that, you have saved my life. You have like sort of like created, like gave me hope, etc. So it's a narrative of hope giving. It's a narrative of positivity, but coming from a place of negativity. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So I would like to share this with you next time when I've finished it. But basically, there is sort of a link, I would say, between mental health of young girls and women and the BTS's, the soft masculinity sort of performed by BTS. So what I've been showing you so far is about how girls and women are impacted or affected by soft masculinity performed by BTS. But of course, the relationship does not just go one way, it goes both ways. Just as social media and sort of hegemonic masculinity creates mental health problems for young girls and women, at the same time, they can use the same platforms, and they have been using the same platforms to contribute or give back to BTS. Yeah, they have been. So girls and women have before been unable to, at the same rates as boys and men, unable to consume online content. They've been unable to sort of enjoy consumption at the same rates as boys and men. But increasingly, young girls and women, they have more financial independence. And what they do with it is they have their own mobile phones, they have access to the internet. And through these platforms, they do many, many things to support BTS. So it's a two-way relationship. right? So now more and more women and girls are increasingly able to afford and use mobile phones and access to the internet. What they do with it is that they've used their sort of financial independence to support, to buy, to purchase BTS content, BTS concert tickets. So girls and women make up the majority of BTS's fans. They're the most active and visible members of the fan base on social media. They also, there was a presentation earlier about charity projects coming out of the BTS fandom. A lot of these are facilitated by girls and women. And I would say that they are motivated to do so because they have been sort of inspired by the message that BTS has set to them, right? So soft masculinity itself is not new, as several presenters have said before. What is new is that BTS's brand of soft masculinity is now sort of expanding and reaching all corners of the globe at such speed and volumes. So this is what is new. And the reception has so far been favorable, and it indicates sort of that this form of masculinity as represented and performed through images, songs, performances, interviews, and other content that are shared, consumed, and reproduced online. It indicates that this form of masculinity is different from and still more positive than hegemonic masculinity. So that's sort of the bottom line of my presentation. BTS does represent a positive alternative form of masculinity for young girls and women. But before I end, I want to sort of talk about some caveats in which the framework that I've been using, it might be too simplistic, right? Some of the limitations might be that I'm taking a sort of a binary look at masculinity. I'm pitting soft masculinity against hegemonic masculinity. But when I talk about hegemonic masculinity, it always refers to Western masculinity, Western concepts of masculinity. But masculinity, there are multiple masculinities. And even within Western context, masculinity, there are multiple masculinities. And Asian masculinities, how about those? The existing forms of Asian masculinities, right? So these are not addressed yet in my paper. However, I do argue that this is a start towards considering how BTS actually challenges dominant forms of global production of pop culture and images of masculinity. They are the first sort of non-Western act to break through several of these barriers in which Western sort of pop culture has reigned like supreme, right? The second possible criticism against my approach is that I'm thinking about masculinity in a too rigid way and the impacts of masculinity on girls and women in a too rigid way. I've been saying that girls and women experience mental health issues because of misogyny. But of course, we need to consider other reasons or other sort of contributing factors to why they develop mental health issues in the first place. But again, the contribution of this paper, it's a start to help to consider how gender relation actually sets the arena for other factors to contribute to and worsen mental health issues among girls and young women. It also sort of it provides a feminist reading into this topic because then it invites question about agency and positionality. So one of the things that I was thinking about is why is it only when Western fans like and receive BTS that we have considered that they are challenging masculinity? How about like Asian fans that have always been sort of receptive to this kind of masculinity? So if I'm making that claim, am I overlooking all other fans in other parts of the world? But still, this is a start, as I said, and hopefully that I could address all of the other concerns in due time. So to conclude, I don't want to say it anymore, BTS, positive masculinity. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 이번 세션에서는 그 한류의 스콥이 많이 넓혀진 것 같아요. 그 거슬러 올라가서 탈춤부터 BTS까지 굉장히 넓은 범위의 한류를 이야기해 주셨고, 한류가 어떻게 말레이시아, 브루나이, 태국과 같은 동남아시아에서 수용되고 있는지, 그리고 이 한류가 그 각국의 아시아 국가의 문화에 미치는 영향, 특히 매스큘리니티가 어떻게 변형되고 있는지, 변화되고 있는지에 대한 구체적인 설명을 발표해 주셨습니다. 아마 들으시면서 질문들이 많이 떠오르셨을 것 같은데요. 저도 그랬고 조금만 이렇게 마음속에 담아두셨다가 10분만 쉬었다가 종합토론에서 열띤 토론을 한번 해보도록 하겠습니다. 10분 쉬시고 지금 55분이니까 5시 5분에 종합토론을 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 예, 발표자 여러분들께 다시 한번 박수 부탁드립니다.